We are back, talking hoops from Nedick's at the old garden on 48th Street. Three of us. I'm Ralph Tyko, Hal Bock, and Al Blumkin are with us today. How are you, gentlemen?
We're good.
It's been very damp here. We had a nor'easter here that's just starting to leave.
Is it snowing or raining?
No, it was a lot of rain, tremendous.
A lot of rain, a lot of wind.
We're lucky that the temperature had been below freezing. There'd be 2 feet of snow on the ground here.
Right.
Oh, not a fun way to spend the winter.
No. But it's leaving, so hopefully, temperatures will cool off after Thursday. But at least it'll be, there's no threat of any storms for a while anyway. So.
No.
Well, we've had a break in the rain in Northern California, and although it's cold by our standards, 51, 52, I'm certainly not complaining about that. It's been sunny too, so if you got to go around the track, it might as well be when the sun is shining.
Yeah.
And we'll soon for you guys, because spring in New York City is absolutely nirvana. We made a trip back there, as Al knows, last year, my tally and I, and hope to do it again. I hope against hope this spring. Might be a little early, but wow, I left when I was 20 and came out to California in the Air Force. I didn't really get to experience New York as an adult much, just visiting, going back on leave to see family over the years. But it's a spectacular city. You got to give it that.
Fun place to visit.
Yeah, right. Wouldn't want to live there.
There's two things. When you visit, you always know that you can leave and go. Even
right.
When you live here, you always have to come back.
That's true. But even when you leave, if it's in your heart, if you grow up, you miss it on some level when you're gone. So, not when you're gone, when you're gone from the city. Let's talk a little basketball, guys. Pick up where we left off last week a little. Is there anything you guys want to elaborate on from last week's show?
Yeah, I missed on
Sorry you
one thing.
didn't get in.
I missed on one small thing. We were discussing the territorial draft last week, and,
right.
And you reminded me of this when you put the Tom Gola picture up. Tom Gola was a Philadelphia territorial pick.
Oh, didn't know that.
I'd forgotten that. When I saw your picture of him, on your web page,
right.
That reminded
he had a LaSalle jersey.
Right, yeah, and they won an NCAA in 1954, and then they lost to Bill Russell in San Francisco in the following year. And Gola was a hot number, although he was an adequate pro, but he was never the sensation.
He was a very good role player.
Yeah.
And that worked well when he had the big man in Wilt.
Yeah.
Did Gola spend some time with the Knicks?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He did, and he was very ineffective, if I recall.
Yeah, he was done by the time the Knicks got him.
That's what I thought.
Knicks were very good at getting players like that when they were finished.
Right. Ironically, so were the Celtics, who would fill out their bench with guys who could play role, like guys like Embry and Knowles at the end of their career, who could play the small roles and help them with their experience. Knicks never had that luxury. You get a guy like Gola. Gola came in and started right away.
Yeah, Gene Shue became a very, very good player with the Pistons. And the Knicks had it before and after he was good.
Who is that?
Gene Shue. Yeah.
Oh, yes, Gene Shue, yes. played with Baltimore too. He was very good with Baltimore.
He coached
very
the league
good
as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he coached for years. He coached.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a name.
I think he was the coach when the Bullets won their championship over Seattle in the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's some good memory. Let me tell you, if you could take your basketball Jones into the 70s with all the change, all the expansion, made it very difficult for me as somebody, just like in hockey, you're used to the original six. There was an original six in basketball.
Original eight.
Original eight, right.
Yeah.
And expansion in any sport came hard and tough for me. But
well, I understand why we needed expansion, because there are a lot of cities in this country who are hungry for a professional franchise, and I understand that. But I agree with you, because I remember the 6-team NHL. You knew every player who was going to come in. You knew everybody knew everybody else. Now,
right.
I mean, it's 30 teams, 31 teams, whatever
30
it is.
teams in hockey and 30 teams in basketball.
And it's impossible to keep up with them.
Yeah, I looked at some
There's
NBA top lists, and certain teams I couldn't tell you anybody on those teams.
I'm with you, pal.
Yeah.
Yeah, given I've been doing this network thing and my podcasting and all that, I really don't have time for modern day sports other than baseball. I watch them almost as an outsider looking in, whereas all my life I was just a fanatic for every sport. And as a kid, you love the winter sports even more than baseball on a lot of levels.
Never.
Because they were all indoors. The weather was horrible. You got to be there, whereas in the summer, I used to go to summer camp and was gone from the baseball season. But for nostalgia, looking back, it's just, it doesn't go away in your head. So let's get into this week's topic. We were going to talk about, I still think you could make a case that the two greatest guards, I mean, Jordan, all these guys today, but Zeke from Cabin Creek and the Big O, Oscar Robertson and Jerry West.
What's a heck of a chance with those two in the backcourt, I'll tell you. Oscar averaged a triple-double one year.
The whole year.
That's unbelievable.
Right. When you think that the double was rebounding and he was a guard.
I know. He's a remarkable player. I saw him in Madison Square Garden. As we talked about last week, I went to New York University, and he came into the Garden and he lit NYU up for 55 points one night, and he was just unbelievable. They had nothing to stop him. They had nothing to even challenge him. He had whatever he wanted. He did it. Oscar, for me, was the premier guard of his time, and I know certainly Jerry West. You can't argue with him, but Oscar had.
No,
Oscar was a remarkable.
Big O was the Big O.
The first time I ever saw Oscar was on the 1959 Holiday Festival. I went to the triple header. They used to have triple headers the last day of it, and they were facing Iowa with Don Nelson. This is, how long ago this was. Oscar threw in 50 points against Iowa, and he just hit everything that night. And this is college, with no clock. And I just fell in love with his playing right then and there.
Yeah, I remember seeing him come in to either a holiday festival or an NIT or whatever it was. It was the tournament that had Ohio State with Newell, and Lucas, all those guys. It had the Van Arsdale brothers and Bellamy with Indiana, and I can't think of any of the other teams, but that was a pretty good tournament. That was that was not bad. That's what we had. We had in that garden the NITs at that time were
the Holiday Festival was a major deal at that point.
The Holiday Festival, right?
Yeah.
And the NITs were on a par with the NCAAs.
Not quite, because most of the major conferences wouldn't let their runner-up teams go into the NIT.
Oh, is that
that
right?
was a magical time in the Garden, and college basketball.
Yeah.
And at that time was just remarkable. You had great stars coming in week after week after week, and it was a show. It was really a show.
Thursday night.
And New York City basketball held, I mean, NYU, Fordham, and not just the city, but the surrounding three-state areas.
No, it was huge. It was huge, really huge before the 1951 scandals.
Keep in mind that one of the Knicks' greatest stars was Richie Guerin out of Iona.
Yeah.
Which is in North Shell, you know.
I was saying something to Alan the other day about Richie Guerin. He was terrific. He kept moving without the ball. He was a terrific guard for the Knicks.
Let me bring up a subject for you guys to discuss. How do you feel about the change in basketball? The game that we're talking about in those days, the Nedick's game, there was no clock. There was no 24-second clock, no 30-second clock. There was no three-point shot. Was it a better game, or was it a slower game?
I think you need a clock, because there were several games that I remember, particularly one I listened to on the radio, an ACC tournament game between Duke and North Carolina, that wound up 12-10.
The Four Corners offense.
Yes, 4-2. North Carolina State, and Duke. North Carolina State beat Duke 12-10. The halftime score was 4-2. And there were several other games like that.
We agree that we need a clock, right?
The clock I liked. The three-point shot I've always hated.
It spoiled the game in my
games with. There's one playoff game I watched a bunch of years ago. The two Western teams and the NBA teams, and one team was leading by 5 in the third quarter. The team's losing is throwing up threes, which are clanging off the backboard. There's no reason at that stage of the game for them to do threes. I know it adds dimension, and a lot of people like it, but I've never liked the three.
Well, it's like a Broadway. It's like a Broadway show.
They're thinking about a 4-point line. That's being discussed.
Oh my God!
I think I saw West threw a half-court in against the Knicks in the playoff game, and I saw Bill Sharman on TV throw one in an All-Star game from 70.
But it's a Broadway Hollywood kind of hit, and it's only one more point. It's 3 points instead of 2, but there's something about it that's like a home run. It dazzles the fans, it dazzles the players. But my problem with it is it has taken over the game. And you see more and more players just hanging out by that line.
Yeah, you're right.
To throw up threes. Nobody drives the lane anymore. Get to the foul line,
Very good points.
College, it's further in the college game, and they, so it becomes a fairly, I wouldn't say easy, but it becomes a very makeable shot in the college game because they're in the line is further in than it is in the NBA.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And I think it really has. While at first it added a lot to the game, I think now it has taken something away from the game. I think there's too much dependence on it.
I agree with you.
Good. How about the Zeke man, Zeke from Cabin Creek? Any early memories of him when he first came up? He wasn't as good as they both came into the league the first year.
It took Jerry West about half a season to adjust.
Right.
Oscar just went in with absolutely no problem. But,
right. I do remember that.
Yeah, West played on a West Virginia team that was beaten by California in the 1959, by 1 point in the 1959 NCAA final.
Caused the Knicks to draft Darrell Imhoff.
Yeah. Well, California made the final the next year against the first Lucas Havlicek team, and they were blown out in the final by 20. But Jerry West came in, and Oscar was came in as a territorial for the Cincinnati Royals, who I think won 19 games the previous season, and then the Lakers, who had the only thing that they had of any value, the only player that had any value at that point was Elgin Baylor, and West came in as the second pick. And
Goodrich was pretty good. Was Goodrich there?
Goodrich came after. Goodrich came about later, 4 or 5 years after. Goodrich was on the first two UCLA teams that won NCAAs, and his second year was 64-65.
And keep in mind that Jerry West
played
became
for
a pretty
the
good
Lakers
executive.
1 year.
Oh,
1 or 2 years. Frank Selvey, did he go?
Yeah, he was there when the West came in.
Okay.
And he was the one that missed the shot that would have won the game in regulation, the 7th game in the 1962 final against the Celtics, and the Celtics wound up winning the game in overtime.
Keep in mind also that Jerry West became a pretty good executive in that league.
He still is. He's an advisor with the Warriors right now, and has been for a couple of years.
Yep. West made 9 finals in the NBA and won once. He was on those Laker teams that used to lose to the Celtics. He lost 6 of them to the Celtics, and he lost 2 to the Knicks. The only time he ever won was that 72 team that won 33 straight and beat the Knicks in 5 games in that final.
Hey, don't forget, Oscar Robertson gave a kidney to his daughter. Now, a lot of people would say, what wouldn't you do? Of course you give a kidney to your daughter, but a lot of people wouldn't say that in this world, in the way we. So I would say, hats off to you, Oscar. You're a human as well as.
Oscar was in the forefront of getting player freedom. That's the NBA. His name is on the lawsuit.
Please elaborate on that. That's
Oscar Robertson was in the forefront of getting players.
How did that come down?
It came when they wanted free agency, and he loaned his name to the lawsuit that went, and the courts ruled in favor of it. That created.
Weren't they going to sit out an All-Star game and let the league?
In Boston in 1965. Yeah.
Right. Now, that brings up another question. I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
The NBA All-Star Game is coming up in a couple of weeks. What do you think of the NBA All-Star Game?
Nothing. I don't watch it because there's no defense.
There's no defense. That's not basketball.
190 to 170 last year, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
I know,
That's not basketball. I mean, that's just like... And the same thing goes for hockey. The hockey All-Star Game is the same way.
Yeah,
they don't play any defense. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to be a goaltender, you know? You're like in a shooting gallery.
If you want to treat yourself, speaking of basketball All-Star Games, on YouTube, it's either the 62, 63 season, 61, 62, something, might be more than 1 year, complete All-Star Game coverage. Wilt playing on one team, Russell on the other. Reason this comes to, so go to YouTube and catch that. You'll be amazed at how these guys played when I think what you were getting at, Hal, is the game back then was played mostly under the rim.
Exactly.
And what are you doing without the ball? Weaving, moving without the ball, this, that, and the other thing. These guys were so great. And what made me think of it, we were talking about Richie Guerin. Richie Guerin didn't start naturally in those All-Star games. He was as good as anybody coming off the bench, as a good, right up there with Dave Bing and Sam Jones, and he was terrific. And you reminded me, Little Iona College.
That's right.
Other guys, St. Bonaventure, the Stiffs came out of there.
Absolutely.
Bob Lanier came out of St. Bonaventure.
Right.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
So
Calvin Murphy came out of Niagara. That doesn't happen very much anymore.
And expansion for me in the NBA, I looked up and there was Buffalo in the NBA with DeGoria,
Bob McAdoo and Randy Smith.
Yeah, but there was another guard that came along.
Ernie DeGregorio.
Yes,
DeGregorio.
DeGregorio.
They are now the LA Clippers.
Ernie D is as close as it gets for me.
They are now the LA Clippers.
Bob McAdoo was one shooting mother.
And Randy Smith had the record for consecutive games played.
Oh, really?
He didn't take any days off for rest.
That was in those days. You played, right?
Yeah.
There was no question about it. You went out and you played.
In every sport.
When this stuff started a couple of years ago, and they asked Walt Frazier about it, he said, "Rest." He said, "We didn't rest."
Right.
No, that was their job.
Buffalo Braves and now the LA Clippers.
Yeah, I think Boston was about the only team that had in those days that went really deep on their bench.
Yeah, well, they had John Havlicek spent his whole career. He never got tired. He ran and ran and ran with the ball, without the ball. He never got tired.
Richie Guerin played like that. He played a lot like that.
Didn't he have a game with the Knicks? I think he scored 57 points one night.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
He scored over 50. I don't know if it was 57.
Yeah, it was 57, yeah. But getting back to Jerry West, there was one series, championship series, they played against the Celtics, and Baylor was out with a knee injury. And the series went 5 games, and the Celtics obviously beat them. West averaged over 40 a game in that series.
Whoa.
Because he was the only one there that at that point that was capable of,
they must have had
putting the ball in the basket.
Did they have Chamberlain?
I think that was Jim
Chamberlain.
Krebs, or Ray Felix,
Leroy Ellis. They had from
not Ray Felix, Leroy Ellis, who came from New York, as a matter of fact.
From St. John's. Played St. John's.
Leroy Ellis from St. John's, Ray Felix from Long Island University.
Yeah.
We had some great basketball here in New York, and they turned out a lot of very good players.
Do you guys remember Alan Seiden?
Yeah.
Absolutely, St. John's.
He was St. John's guard. He was a friend of mine's friend, my camp counselor, a guy named Dr. Paul Granoff.
Yeah, Leroy Ellis had one of his teammates was Kevin Lockery.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
He was an excellent, guard mostly for the Bullets, and of course, he coached the Nets, and when they were in the ABA, and of course, he was the second coach of the infamous 1973 Philadelphia 76ers.
When you mention the Nets, it brings to mind. I mentioned last week watching Elgin Baylor for the first time and sitting there with my mouth open at some of the things he was doing. Well, the same thing happened at the Nassau Coliseum with Dr. J. Julius Erving was unbelievable.
Oh,
I mean,
he could start at the top of the key, it seemed.
He was a helicopter.
Yeah, they sold him to the Sixers because when the Nets came into the ABA with the Nuggets, Pacers, and Spurs, they had to pay the $3 or $4 million indemnity fee to the Knicks for the territory.
And Roy Bowe didn't have it.
Before it, so they sold Irving to the Sixers. That's how that happened.
Yeah.
Thank you, Al.
Yeah.
Always, they had guys. Pulse, I remember.
Yeah.
Billy Paul Malchione, also a St. John's guy.
Right.
Bill Malchione.
St. John's had Sonny Dove. They had
Lloyd Dove. That's right, Lloyd Dove.
Lloyd, yeah.
Larry Keenan from Memphis was
That's
there.
Right. That's right.
Wendell Ladner got killed in a plane crash.
And you'd look down, you'd go to a St. John's game, you'd look down, and there would be the coach.
Lou Conaseca. Yeah, he coached that for 2 years. Then he went
92
back.
years old, and he still goes to games at the arena on the campus.
Yeah,
he also goes to the Garden.
He went back to St. John's.
But I'm thinking of a coach before then who later coached the Knicks. Lapchick, Joe Lapchick.
Yeah,
Joe Lapchick, sure.
He coached St. John's.
He coached the Knicks for the first 9 seasons in the NBA. Then he went back to St. John's in his last year in 1965. Because I knew this because I was at all they won the Holiday Festival over Michigan with Cassie Russell. I went to all those games, and then the NIT they won. They beat Villanova in the last minute. I was at that whole tournament. I used to go, for $3. How could you beat it?
Hey,
Lapchick
in the winter of 1965 is when I had to go into the Air Force.
Yeah, he retired after that season. I'm friends with his son on Facebook, Richard Lapchick.
Oh, I am too. I'm casual. And of Dr. Lapchick.
He doesn't post very often.
Try to get him as a guest. He'd be very interesting.
Yeah.
I'd love to get some insights about his dad and the life that he was. Lapchick was an original Knick, if I'm not mistaken.
An original Celtic.
Yeah,
original Celtic. That was it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And about Oscar, Oscar was a slave for the Cincinnati Royals, who were never quite good enough, even with Embry and Twyman and Adrian Smith and Lucas. They were never good enough to finish ahead of the Celtics because they were in the Eastern Division at that point. And then the Royals traded him to the Bucks, and in his one of his last seasons, he teamed up with a very young Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to win the title for Milwaukee in 1971. For his own
Lewis was Lewis then. He was Lou Alcindor from.
And there was Oscar played in Indianapolis. That's where he was from. He played in high school, all-black school named Crispus Attucks, and they won the state title twice in a row, and they wouldn't be given any parades because they were all black. This is something Oscar Robertson never forgot. In fact, his autobiography, The Big O, is one of the few times I've ever read an autobiography by a sports figure that wasn't ghosted.
He wrote it himself, huh?
Yeah. Think about that.
Good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I remember seeing a team come in, Illinois State. What was it? Jerry Harkness. Who did he play for?
Loyola. Didn't he play for Loyola?
Yeah. He was there when they won the championship in 1963 when they beat Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Okay. And
also, he was also a New York kid.
Black players.
Yeah.
They played a big game in Kentucky, and that was very instrumental on in integration. And,
Texas Western.
No, that was after that. No, they played.
Yes.
One of their games, I think, was against Mississippi State, who had because they weren't really allowed to go because of the segregation down there, and they took a bus out in the middle of the night to play in the NCAA. Because they didn't want to concede the title and have Kentucky represent the SEC for the 10,000th time. So they took a bus out of Mississippi in the middle of the night and played the NCAA.
Wow.
Things that went on, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. What was Jerry West coming up? Anything?
Well, he came out. He succeeded Hot Rod Hundley in West Virginia, and then he was succeeded there by Rod Thorne. But West turned out to be by far the best of the three players. And as I said before, it took him about half a season to adjust to the NBA. But once he did,
Hundley was another guy that was with the Lakers.
Yeah, he announced for them for years.
West was also the guy that they used for the logo, the NBA logo.
Is Jerry West.
Jerry West, right?
Yeah, yes. Now he does the Ralph commercials.
Yeah, that's right.
He's become the spokesman for Zeraldo since Arnold Palmer passed away.
Yep, that's right.
And
he's also, as an advertiser, he's had some mental illness demons.
He had a very rough childhood.
Right.
And, he wrote an autobiography that was very, very moving. He had a lot of anger issues because of his upbringing, where he came from, but he went through a lot, and it seemed to straighten himself out, but he never let any of that affect his play, as far as I know.
Who was Oscar traded for, off the subject just a little bit, to Milwaukee? He didn't go as a free agent because
I think for Flynn Robinson. I think for Flynn Robinson and maybe a good draft choice or two. Okay. Oscar was 32, 33 at the time.
And he played with Kareem.
It was basically what we would call nowadays a salary dump.
Okay. Gotcha. But he had something left, like I say. Yeah. And, he made it work. Did they win the championship?
Yeah.
Yeah, they won.
Oscar and Kareem won the championship.
Yeah, they beat the Bullets in 4 straight. The Bullets had beaten the Knicks off because Reed, in the semifinal, because Reed could hardly play. His knee started bothering him, and he couldn't play much in that semifinal. And the Bullets beat the Knicks for the first time in, quite a while in the playoff play, and then they were swept by the Bucks in 4 straight.
Bullets had a very underrated center in Wesley Unseld.
Oh, yeah.
He was small, but, boy, could he rebound. I mean, that guy could box out. He reminded me of Wayne Embry.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing that's changed in the league. There was a time when the league was all centers. It was the great centers. You had Patrick, you had Reed before him here in New York. You had Embry, you had Nate Thurmond, the great Nate Thurmond, who just passed away a while ago. You had Russell and Wilt. They were all great centers. Now the game is
came Elijah.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, even up to that point, they had. Now it's they're basically power forwards.
Essentially, right. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Kareem probably was the last of the Kareem.
The dominant centers.
Yeah, Ewing and Elijah were the last of the dominant centers.
Yeah, Hakeem was really special, wasn't he?
Oh yeah. Ewing beat him in the NCAA when Georgetown won at one time. They beat Houston, but once they got into the NBA, Elijah won at Ewing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah,
5-slammer jammer, right? At Houston.
Yeah.
Clyde Drexler.
Quite a draft with the ping pong balls that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the things, Oscar could do everything, and Oscar always said that if they gave him 10 feet, he wanted 8 feet. If they gave him 8 feet, he wanted 6 feet.
He'd back in with the ball. With that big butt of his.
Oh yeah.
And he was like you averaged a triple double. I mean,
that's what he did.
Rebounds. God.
Yeah.
That's unbelievably fantastic.
Both of them were. Both of them in their primes. He and West were. I think the only guards that you really can compare with them at this point were Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson.
2 other pretty good players.
I would say when you talk guards, though, and I grew up with these guys, it took me a while to really come to the conclusion. Michael was just, I mean,
but they played a
new
different
generation.
Game.
It's hard to.
Yeah.
They played a different
game, different training, probably different drugs involved. Why not?
Johnson. Johnson won his first championship with the Lakers against the Sixers. Kareem was out, and he was out of the game, and he couldn't make it because of an injury. They played in Philadelphia, and Johnson moved from guard to center.
I
wound up scoring, I think, 42 in that game. And so they could do that. But
but you know, they both had guys who were who added to their greatness. Jordan had Scottie Pippen, and Magic had Kareem. There wasn't just a one-man show.
Yeah, I know. And Magic had also James Worthy, who was very, very good.
Right.
But Oscar for when Twyman started to decline, and the period before Lucas became pretty good, that they were always a couple of steps short of the Celtics.
Well,
the Lakers really
West
had
Wilt too. West had Wilt, so
the Lakers most of the time when West was there, all they had that could put the ball in a regular basis was Baylor, until Chamberlain came there when they forced the trade from the Sixers. And when Chamberlain, the year that they won the 33, Baylor had to retire.
Yeah, he had a very bad.
Could LeBron have played in that era and been as great as he is now?
I think he could have played in any era
and been as great as he is now.
I don't know.
All these guys could have played in that era and been as great as they are now.
But I don't think Curry or any of these smaller types.
No, I don't. I agree with you. I think that it would have been eaten up.
Yeah.
By the guys we just discussed, these centers who would anchor themselves under the basket. And, it was like the Valley of the Giants,
Right. Even Cowens and those guys, too. They were we're talking about Unseld, another small center, but just as tough, even though they were small. So
Robert Parrish was also very good.
You bet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and one of my favorite guards of all time, because I thought this guy was so clutch that, to me, was Sam Jones.
Sam Jones and Casey Jones boys.
What would they say? You keep bank on.
If Sam Jones had not played for the Celtics, he played for a team where he could shoot all night, he could have averaged close to 40.
And it's interesting that Casey and Russell both came out of San Francisco.
Yeah. And
yes.
But Sam Jones, the final year that he and Russell played in 68-69, he made a bank shot at the end of the fourth playoff game in Boston for them to win by 1. And if he hadn't made that shot, the Celtics would have had to go out to L.A. trailing 3-1. Instead, they went out there 2-2. 3-2.
It's interesting how one shot can make a difference like that,
Turn the whole series around. And And I saw a playoff game in the old Garden in 1967 where somehow the Knicks managed to win the third game out of the best 3 of 5. They lost the first 2, and they won in Boston Garden for the first time in a million years. So a friend of mine and I got tickets. You could go up to the gate the next day and get tickets. That's how it was back then. We sat in the end arena. Sam Jones got 51 against the Knicks. 30 from the floor and all 13 free throws. It was one of the most incredible NBA performances I've ever watched live.
Another guard from those
was
days,
a pretty good judge of talent, wouldn't he?
Why? Did you guys pick up on Hal Greer at all? Do you think he was right up there?
I don't think he was. Greer used to. You look at his playoff numbers, and some of the series is not very good. I always thought Sam Jones was better than Greer.
Okay.
So that's my opinion. Of course, during those years, the Knicks had Howard Kohlmeis.
That's true.
I wanted to strangle every time I saw him out there for the Knicks. I'm so glad when they got rid of him.
Oh, but what a trade that turned out.
Oh, that was the trade of the century.
That was the Busher trade, right?
Yeah, him and Bellamy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And ironically, Comives did okay with Detroit after that.
He was a 38% shooter from the floor.
Really?
He won a national scoring title when he was at Bowling Green because Thurmond had left the year before. So Comives just was swinging the ball up. He would average 36 points a game in college because he was taking every shot. He was a 38% shooter from the floor in the NBA. Even those days,
Knicks
I wasn't good enough.
Those days,
yeah.
Jack Foley, they got from Holy Cross.
Jack
Foley.
Yeah.
Right. And we always wondered, where's the shot?
Right. That's right.
Those were the days you could count on the Knicks for being the Knicks. We had Charlie Tyree. I don't know if I've ever told you guys this story. Did I tell you, Alan, about the time I got, I know I haven't told Hal.
You did the Bill Russell autograph. You did the Bill Russell autograph last week.
Pardon me?
Who, Charlie Tyree?
You did the Bill Russell autograph.
I have a quick Bill. I told it last week. I won't tell it again.
Yeah.
Only to say that Charlie Tyree was not very good.
We used to call him Dumbo because of his ears.
Was he from Louisville?
Yeah. No, yeah, he played for Louisville.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, the first time I ever saw Wes Unseld live, they came into the Holly Festival, and him and Butch Beard, and they played a final against Columbia, who had Jim McMillan and Dave Newmark. And
Dave Newmark is a friend of mine from he moved out to California. I won't say he's a friend of mine, but he and I palled around for a while at one time.
Columbia beat Louisville in the final of the Holly Festival that year.
Yeah.
If you ever
hurt his hand.
Talk to Newmark again, ask him about that.
That holiday festival?
Yeah, he was.
I don't think I'm going to talk to Dave Newmark again. Dave Newmark and I didn't really get along all that well, but we knew each other, and we did hang, and I played one-on-one basketball hanging with Dave Newmark, and he shouldered me where my shoulder ached. For months. This was a big guy who could shoot. He was
Did they call a foul on him?
Pardon me?
Did you call a foul on him at least?
I called a foul. I wanted to call an ambulance for crying out loud. He did not let up. I'm just a little guy. He did not. We went out one-on-one. He had an incredible, I can't describe it on the air. He was just...
Newmark for a while had the nickname Nice News as compared to Bad News Barnes.
Right. Newmark they call Nice News?
Yeah, and Jim McMillan, ironically, succeeded Elgin Baylor as the forward...
with the Lakers.
On the Lakers.
Yeah. He had a very good career.
Yeah.
But... Newmark hurt his hand as a senior. He put his hand through a plate glass window, and took him a long time to recover, some nerve damage and what have you. So you never got to see the real, as Dave Newmark could have been as a pro. But that was Columbia. And just to give you an example, we were talking before of how New York and that area. Next week, what I'd like to talk about, speaking of that, is high school basketball from New York back in the day. And there's a lot to talk about there with Connie Hawkins and Roger Brown and the aforementioned Newmark and Louis Alcindor from Powell Memorial, and Willie Worsley coming out of New York. So let's build a show around that next week, gentlemen, if that's okay with you guys.
Works for me.
How about you, Alan? Are you happy? Alan? You guys still there?
I'm still here.
Alan probably dropped off for some reason because technology is what it is, and the weather's bad in New York. I'll end it, Hal. Anything you want to add?
No, we'll talk next week.
Thank you very much for joining us. And
sure, I look forward to it.
Good. We'll see you next week, same time, same, as Al would say, same bat station.
Okay.
See you next week, guys.
All right.
Everybody out there, keep on keeping on, and we're enjoying this, and I hope you are too. Adios, everybody.